Cleveland Clinic, Florida provides individualized treatment plans for excellent outcomes of health problems ranging from the most common to the most complex, even in cases considered untreatable by others. Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Every life deserves world-class care.
All right, welcome to the KVJ After the Show podcast.
Kevin's eyes look insane, but he's got new hair. Virginia is a witch, and she farts in her chair. Jason is a spaz who's got an old man's ass. Welcome to the After the Show podcast.
Yeah, hello. Welcome to the KVJ After the Show podcast here for your Wednesday. I'm pretty fired up today. We get to talk to Billy Corben. He's a documentary filmmaker out of Miami, and he's the one that's done Cocaine Cowboys and The U. I don't know that I've ever rewatched any other documentary, and I think I've watched all his. The U, I almost watch every single year. It's that good.
If Cocaine Cowboys is on, no matter what part it's on, because they were running it, I believe, on Showtime forever,
Yeah.
I would always watch it, no matter what part it was on. I've seen it so many times.
It's so good, and like I said, to me, it's a must-watch if you live in South Florida, because you will drive through Miami with different eyes, and you'll be like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" It's stuff that you just got to know.
So does it make you, if all that was built by cocaine, and you did have a lot of prosperity going on, but people were also dying with, all this shit going on with cocaine, do you look at Miami and go, we're glad it happened? Those people died, but we have a great city?
It's a weird thing to look at about what you do. I think it's more of fascination than it is joy of like, thanks to all those people who laid down their lives in cocaine just so we could have these great tall buildings.
All that's there because of cocaine, and a lot of people died.
It is. I look at it I think more with just an awe of fascination. As you go and see there are so many other landmarks you can go through. You can see the Colosseum in Rome, and that was just a slaughterhouse, is what that was.
Yeah,
but you look at that with odd fascination, and I think it's probably the same kind of emotion that I, now look at those buildings with. Keep in mind, a lot of these people that have died in the cocaine game, they enter it voluntarily. There are some. And you hate that anybody gets caught up in it and they didn't know what was going on, and there's some random victims. But for the most part, people who die in the cocaine game, they get into it knowing what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, I'm not over here trying to cancel Miami for building everything up with the cocaine. It just does make you realize back in the day when all that was going on, people probably thought it was horrible, but as time goes on and you're not affected by those moments, you don't think about it.
Well, it's interesting because it really is when nobody wants to necessarily talk about it, but the economy of South Florida, a big part of it is cocaine. It's drugs. It's the drug trade, and you're kidding yourself if you don't think that. And Cocaine Cowboys really kind of opened my eyes to that. And it's always coming up through here. It is a major part of it. And they're the banks, and it's easy. You've got so many international players, so many South Americans that are able to come up through here. I mean, I even just saw today somebody in our chat room was saying that on Facebook they just found like 67 pounds of cocaine on the beach worth more than $1 million in Boca Raton.
Boca.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's a constant.
So I know we always talk about Medellin and Colombia. Is that the only source for where cocaine comes from? Where else can you get it? Where else do they grow it to the point where you can distribute out to the people? It can't just be Colombia, right?
I think, and I've seen other documentaries, I think there are other places that do it, but when you're talking about the majority of it, at least for a while, it was Colombia. But I think that it has almost switched to other countries. In fact, I think I was watching one documentary, and they had said that this other country, it's right next door. I can't remember who it was. Uruguay maybe or something like that.
There's people growing weed left and right. Is there anybody in the States growing the cocoa plant trying to produce their own cocaine? Does that happen in the States?
What's that?
How do I make my own cocaine?
Yeah, I mean it's all made. They don't bring it here. It's already made. Could you do
that here? I'm saying in the States.
What are you talking about?
Could you get could somebody get what you need?
Could I get cocoa leaves?
Yes, and make cocaine.
And then cook it down. And why is just Medellin the only place where you can grow this cocoa leaf?
I think the thing that works out into their favor is that they typically have the jungles for cover. And you need a place because you need some space because you have to have the leaves, you have to mash them out, you have to get the cocoa out of it, and then it's a whole processing thing. That
says step 2, soak them in gasoline. Step 3, drain the gasoline. Step 4, cocaine base is then dried. Step 5, dried substance dissolved in a solvent. Step 6, excess solvents removed and dried into bricks.
So they're using gasoline in cocaine?
Gasolina.
Gasolina.
So you're snorting gasoline when you're doing the cane.
I didn't know that.
And it says here, even I think a Guinness World Record, in 2007, cocaine worldwide, 70% coming from Colombia. So, and here's what I was talking about. Yeah, I did see this. Peru, now the biggest cocaine producer. That was in 2014, a story there. So, yeah, I think that was the other country I'd heard that both of them are still there. But I think Colombia still is the top producer of cocaine.
I just know we're living in the DIY time. Do it yourself. Everyone's doing everything yourself. Someone in Utah making their own cane.
It's a great question.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason. And I think it's probably just the processing of it is that it would be tougher to do. Well, the climate you need for the growing. But after they're harvested and the cocoa leaves, I just think it would probably be harder maybe to do the processing here in the United States. You have more cover. You don't have law enforcement. If you look at a lot of those documentaries with the law enforcement even, most of them are paid off and on the take, and they can control law enforcement and the military a lot easier in those countries than they can here.
Well, that's how they make it work. You have to have them.
And that's how they make it work, to make large amounts of it, to make big profit of it. But the question remains that the bird posed, which is very fascinating. Can you make your own cocaine? Florida's climate's not that different from Peru. If they're making the cocoa plant grow, can't Florida make the cocoa plant grow?
We live in a country where a lot of people, they make moonshine, they make meth, they make everything.
There are a lot of entrepreneurial drug heads.
None of these motherfuckers are making cocaine. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, did any motherfuckers ever try to make cocaine?
But I also think we would have known somebody. We would have heard a story of someone making cane at their house.
You feel like you would, right? I mean, if people are making meth and you need a whole lab, this sounds way less complicated than that.
And no one in the chat room's got an answer. They're all dancing around it, but no one's got a legit answer, so nobody fucking knows.
Nobody fucking knows.
For sure. Yeah, it does say that, Miami is a few degrees north of the tropical band. So I don't know if it has to be in the tropical band for you to get the...
Can I grow a cocoa plant at my house?
Someone's very interested in this cocoa
plant.
I know.
I'm very interested here. Can I grow a cocoa plant?
Well, there's a process to making cocaine. Why can't you do that process in the States?
Well, aren't meth labs always blowing up like all kind of crazy stuff goes down?
Yep.
This seems way less...
toxic. According to all my facts, which I got from Breaking Bad, yes, Virginia, you are right.
Can I grow a cocoa plant?
It's a great question. So, we'll get into that as Billy Corben joins us here in just a few.
Are we stalling for Billy?
No, we're not stalling.
Corben, not to be confused with Billy Corgan,
who I thought
we were interviewing from the Smashing Pumpkins.
This is kind of cool because the dude from Smashing Pumpkins, he's big into wrestling. He owns a wrestling company. Did you
so
know
you thought we were talking to the lead singer of...
Well, then you said it's the Cocaine Cowboy guy. I'm like, well, that's cool too.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about how he wrote 1979.
I wonder if he's always grown up with people confusing him for Billy.
We're not the two first fuckfaces that have called him.
We're definitely fuckfaces.
Yes.
You're not fuckface 1 and 2?
Yeah.
We're like fuckface 93 and 94.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Some interesting things here just to solve some mysteries. I heard you guys talking about that lady at Disney who volunteered to breastfeed other people's babies. Well, that was once a common thing before the introduction of infant formula in the 20th century. So that could have been a thing. And Doug sent that in. And somebody else said, I'm listening to the show. I heard you guys talking about that Disney World Junkies Facebook page. It's got 373,000 members, and it's ran by Frank Goodman. He is a retired professional wrestler named the Masked Maniac, and he goes to Disney at least 5 times a week and lives within a mile of the property.
Wow.
Yeah.
5 times a week?
Yeah. Who would have known that?
Lord.
Who would have known that?
That's too much mouse for me.
Yeah, yesterday we'd seen somebody was on that page offering to breastfeed people's babies as they went to Disney. And we're like, that feels odd.
It feels like it's the weirdest place on earth.
Yeah, it does. And I guess we got this from Pamela talking about Kanye, talking about changing his name to Y-E, yay. She said, it's how about hear ye is how you pronounce ye. So, okay, that's what she's trying to say.
I don't want to debate her, but I'm drunk,
Okay.
so and I really don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, all right.
Is it ye? Is it yay? Do we give a shit?
No, I don't give a fuck.
I honestly don't care.
All right, well, we already got lengthy into discussions about cocaine and the man who's done the best documentaries on it, how it shaped Miami and South Florida. 3 documentaries. The latest one he's done was right there in the top 10 trending as it came out. Cocaine Cowboys, the Kings of Miami. Billy Corben is on with us. Hello, Billy.
Good morning.
Good morning. Such an honor to have you on here. We've been massive fans of all of your documentaries and everything that you have done. And I was saying, I think before you got on here, you are the only documentary filmmaker that I go back and watch the documentaries over and over again. In fact, I almost every year watch the You that you had done there. And you got an old buddy of mine, Steve Walsh, on there. He was part of it. And he talked about how cool it was taking part in that. And it was really amazing. And I'm telling people, even if you're not a Miami Hurricane football fan, to me, that documentary right there is a must watch because I loved how you worked in the history and the racial tension of Miami at the time and really kind of set the stage, for Coral Gables and being a lily white town. And here all of a sudden, that was the thing that the Miami Hurricanes did. They kind of took this gamble. And there was a lot of racial tensions. Miami, a pretty racially tense town, and brought these guys in and started winning football games.
Well, I think there's a pretty common misconception that Miami is a melting pot. We are not a melting pot. We are far more akin to, I'd say, a TV dinner where sometimes the peas fall into the mashed potatoes. We really self-segregate and we create these sort of tribal communities. We have 34 municipalities down here. So it's kind of like, Game of Thrones in paradise with iguanas instead of dragons,
Right,
and so I think that's what makes the story also unique in that, you can make a story about or a documentary about football or a football team or a college. But when you consider how, the uniqueness of our geography, of our population, that's what makes it the difference between, I think, something that people are going to maybe watch once or like watching it once a year.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, it's just great. It's fascinating. I love the showboat of the U and the way that they were. And, I guess my question is, since you've, you were born in Florida, you've been in Miami for so long, I can't think of anybody that, probably knows more about it than you. But as you see Miami grow, and it really is amazing, the thing that really grabbed my eyes, just watching the Kings of Miami with Sal Magluta and Willie Falcone, you're talking about late 80s into early 90s is the time period on that. You show so much of downtown Miami. And when you see that, Virginia, even then, from the early 90s, you're like, oh my gosh, Miami is a completely different looking town now. It's really crazy.
Actually, from episode 1 to beginning of episode 1 to the end of 6, we go from the 70s all the way to present day in Miami. So you get to see the skyline over 4 decades, effectively. And I'll tell you that, I mean, every 5 or 10 years, this town is completely transformed, and not just aesthetically in terms of buildings and development in the skyline, but the population as well. I mean, we have a transient community, a lack of institutional memory, and so you look at any part of this town, and it is just completely different. New buildings, new people, new businesses, and it's actually a pretty scary prospect. It's in no small part why we do what we do, is to hopefully create some institutional memory, and through these documentaries create a history of this community, so we can look back and maybe not be doomed to make the same mistakes over and over again, but make some new ones in the future.
Well, the thing that I was wondering, because one of the notes that you put in the original Cocaine Cowboys in 2006, that still sticks in my mind. I tell everybody every time I go downtown is like how many buildings were built with cocaine money and all the banks there that's on Brickell Avenue. Is that still the case today? Because Miami, is the third largest skyline, I believe, behind Manhattan, Chicago, and I think it goes Miami is the third largest now in the country. I mean, are we still looking at those buildings that are going up and being like, okay, what's cocaine money and what's not?
Well, now it's more money laundering than cocaine money, like directly, a little more indirectly ill-gotten gains these days. But yeah, I mean, the first real modern building boom of downtown in Brickell was during a recession, in a worldwide recession in the late 70s, early 80s. And here you suddenly had this boom of luxury condominiums. We often think of, I think, those beautiful Arquitectonica buildings, the one with the famous hole in the middle of it that Miami Vice had in the opening credits. And all the, who was that market for? Who was in the luxury condo market in Miami in the late 70s, early 80s for crying out loud? It was really the drug market. You look at our number one and number two industries at that time, legitimate industries. You had number one was real estate. Number two was tourism. Tourism generated in Miami-Dade County approximately $7 billion a year. Wow. Real estate brought in about $9 billion a year. The drug trade was estimated to bring in upwards of $12 billion a year. And so that was our number one industry, and I would argue it is the only successful real world case study of Ronald Reagan's trickle down economics, where you had that $12 billion trickle down into every single aspect of this community, every industry, the public sector, the private sector. So people in legitimate businesses who were never actually directly in the drug industry benefited significantly from that money.
Yeah, the stories that you can tell on Miami, and you're doing such an amazing job of telling so many of them. My question is, what is left? Because, I mean, you've told the Cocaine Cowboys. You've gone all the way from the beginning to Sal and Willie. The dogfight, which I just, looking up stuff, that's flown past my radar. Seeing the Kimbo Slice story and what's going on with that I can't wait to jump into that. But if you had to say, do you have projects right now that you're like, this is a story that everybody needs to know? Because every documentary you do, it blows my mind and it opens my eyes to how much mystery there is in South Florida.
You're asking what's left? Have you met Miami? I mean, are you? Can I curse?
Yeah. You say whatever you want. Yeah.
Oh, good, because listen. Florida fuckery is our genre, and I think it is also our state's number one export, I would venture to say. And so there is no dearth of stories and characters. And I mean, listen, we've done, I don't know if you've seen Screwball about Alex Rodriguez and the MLB steroid scandal. That's streaming on Netflix.
That's a South Florida thing too, right? Didn't a lot of that
That all happened in Miami. I directed that. That's on Netflix. I highly recommend. I'm biased, but I highly recommend it. I think it's some of our best work, second only to Cocaine Cowboys, The Kings of Miami, also streaming on Netflix. I didn't want to sound like an algorithm there, where I say if you enjoyed Cocaine Cowboys, The Kings of Miami, you'll like Screwball. But listen, we've made two The U documentaries for ESPN 30 for 30. This is now our fourth Cocaine Cowboys title in the franchise. I think we are not one-hit wonders, but we may be one-trick cowboys. And that trick though is Miami. I think that's the gimmick, right? That's the secret sauce. And there will be we have a Google spreadsheet document in our company, Rack and Tour in Miami Beach, with just endless supply of stories and characters that we will not live long enough to tell. I mean, listen, Florida, particularly South Florida, is the grift that keeps on grifting.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I wonder, Billy, too, because, I was even kind of just thinking like, okay, what could you tell? Anything from, there's Italian mafia, there's Russian mob, there's so much stuff that is, centered in South Florida. Have you ever worried that somebody's going to come after you? Because you really dig deep in your documentaries and you tell the story. And the ones you've told are older stories where, maybe you don't have a Griselda Blanco around that's going to come after you. But is that part of your concern about telling some of these stories and revealing some stuff? Because I know in the Cocaine Cowboys, you had some smugglers on there that kept popping up in the news because they've died since you had them on in Cocaine Cowboys. And I'm wondering, does that ever become an issue with either them or with law enforcement coming to you saying, hey, we need some information from you?
You know, as you said, a lot of this stuff happened decades ago.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff. But it in the case, for example, with the Kings of Miami, our epilogue in episode 6, where the twists and turns don't stop until the end credits of that 6th episode, it comes all the way to present day. So there is new news. There are contemporary updates, but and some of the stuff we do inches screwball dogfight inches a little bit closer to
Right.
present day.
Right.
But I mean, you just can't work like that. And when you're making a documentary, the goal is to impart facts and accurate information, and of course to also create a piece of pop culture entertainment as well. You have to, if you're going to ask the audience to go along with you for 6 episodes, it better be watchable, right? And it better keep them engaged. But I mean, you can't go into something going like, you can't go scared. You can't work scared,
right?
Okay. And so, I mean, do those risks exist? I think they always exist. I mean, there's information in Kings of Miami about people in the public sector, in the private sector, in government, in law enforcement, who were basically involved in this massive cocaine conspiracy, who were never found out, who were never caught, who were never held accountable. And we address that in the piece. And so, there is a certain, I suppose, risk inherent in it, but you just, like ask any journalist, any newspaper person, you gotta do the work.
Yeah. Who would you say, of everybody you've covered, or maybe somebody you want to cover, if you had to nominate the most fascinating figure ever in South Florida history, who would you say would be the one person that would walk away with the because I mean, and you're talking everything. I mean, you got sports, Dan Marinos and your Don Shulos and your Gloria Estefan to your Griselda Blanco, who has been in South Florida. Who would you say would be like the person that just, man, there's so many different layers to this person?
Jimmy Johnson's hair.
Very fascinating. Really, right? Because it's unwavered since he coached the U.
And layers. Talk about layers.
Yes.
Layers, and
it doesn't end.
It's never seen anything like it. It's extraordinary.
It doesn't end.
No, it's an amazing fun. And in this humidity, come on.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's amazing.
Unbelievable.
Tell me, have you seen Startup? That was one that, covered Miami. And have you seen that? And what do you think? Because it seems like, the Magic City now is really kind of becoming maybe Bitcoin central.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to our new documentary, Crypto Cowboys. I think that's coming soon. I haven't seen it. This is the Adam Brody show, right? This is where they shoot. They actually shoot Puerto Rico for Miami. It takes place in Miami, but I think it's shot in Puerto Rico.
They seem to do the Yeah, I was wondering that because I'm like, where is that? It was supposed to be a little video. I'm like, I don't recognize that. That's interesting. I didn't know it was Puerto Rico. That's
it is. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about it, and it's certainly ahead of its time in terms of Miami is just sort of becoming this. I don't really understand why a decentralized currency needs a centralized hub or location, but I mean, I don't pretend to understand that, but I'm sure it's not a coincidence that the money laundering capital of the world is now a crypto hub.
Right, yeah. It all seems to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody over the weekend. The other thing that really interests me that's going on right now in South Florida is this casino thing. And this guy was talking to me. He said, you have no idea what's going on right now, the power grabs behind the scenes, because he said that Vegas is shitting their pants. Because if Miami gets full gambling and they've got beaches and they're building what they're building around Hard Rock, that people will stop, or at least a good portion. Vegas, their economy could really go into the shitter. And so all these Vegas casinos, they're really fighting hard on this. And this is all this legislation that's going on. And I'm wondering, where you got power and you got this much money, I assume some bodies are going to start piling up. Have you heard any rumblings about all this casino talk and the gambling laws going on here in Florida, Billy?
I don't really understand why we're still having this debate. It's so absurd. I mean, when my grandfather built a lot of hotels in Miami Beach post-war, every single hotel in Miami Beach had a bookie It was part of the attraction. It was part of the amenities. It wasn't legal, but every hotel had a sports bet. And now, flash forward now 60 years later, we're sitting around somehow debating the legalization of gambling. When I'm on the Florida Turnpike or I-95, every other billboard is advertising a different casino. Gambling is here. I don't really understand how we haven't had a serious conversation about where and how to have casinos, that it's taken this long. The real reason it's taken this long is because the Florida legislature gets to shake people down every year, who want to come and make campaign contributions and throw parties and this and that every legislative session. But the reality is gambling is here. Gambling's here to stay. It should be a legal and fully kind of integrated part of our economy, just like marijuana should be. Just another thing that we should offer here. As we're a tourism economy. We don't have any indigenous industry. We just sell the sunshine and the Florida dream. It's all a real estate hustle. It's all to attract the 1,000 new arrivals that are going to come here tomorrow. So I don't see why we shouldn't. That's the great thing about Florida too, is that I don't smoke pot, I don't gamble, but there's something for everybody here. Is the bottom line. And we should offer something for everybody. I mean, and lucky us, we could become a year-round Atlantic City. #blessed. Wouldn't that be great? But let's be honest though, I don't really think we pose. Yes, I think if people want to come and gamble in a tropical, beach kind of environment, they will, but I don't know that we pose a real threat. I mean, Las Vegas is an awesome, Las Vegas is an awesome city and it's an entertainment capital of the world. And I don't think that we are going to necessarily be able to offer what Vegas offers.
Vegas?
No, it's going to have it's going to be its own thing. If you want to go to Vegas, you'll go to Vegas. If you want to come to Miami and gamble, you'll come to Miami.
Billy, thank you for taking the time. You got so many great documentaries to check out, from all the Cocaine Cowboy series. You got the Square Grouper one that's in there too. That's the Godfathers of Ganja from 2011. You might want to check that out. So I got to still check that out. I can't wait to get on Dogfight. What was the Rodriguez one? The A-Rod?
Oh, Screwball, also on Netflix.
Screwball on Netflix.
Yeah, I want to see that. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, so I got great 3 more Billy Corben documentaries to check out. And by the way, follow Billy on Twitter too, because I use so much of your stuff that you're always putting on Twitter, because you find the most whack shit in South Florida and you put it on there. You're a great follow too.
And how could you ever think we'd run out of shit down here?
Yeah, you find it all and you put it out there. So Billy, thanks for joining us, man. I would love to have you back anytime, bud.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Okay, absolutely. There you go. That is the great Billy Corben.
It's a great interview.
He's wearing the shirt of Sal Magluta's racing team.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. These guys were on TV on ESPN in cocaine boats.
It's crazy
racing
how
at
brazen.
ESPN's interviewing these cocaine drug lords. It's just, honestly, the whole thing, he's right. The absurdity of South Florida is amazing. And his documentary is like going, how did this shit happen?
There's so much stuff
you can't even believe it.
Not only with all the drug trade, I was telling you guys about how big the motorcycle gang industry was back in the day here in the 70s and 80s.
I'd love to see him cover that.
They were into drugs, sex trafficking, and that was in our own backyard, to the point where
it's so absurd.
The police had to go, I don't think we can catch these fuckers. We have to back away. There's a lot of stories here in South Florida.
His documentaries are just, they're so fucking absurd. You're like, I can't even believe this. But like he'd said, our biggest export is fuckery. And that really is it. And he's in the right line of work to just document all of it. And it's an unbelievable watch because it's all true.
I'm a huge fan of seeing documentaries and when they play old news clips and you see old shit, how it really was, because some documentaries don't have that.
He has it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he has a lot of it.
I can't even believe it. I mean, that one.
It was so good.
The news footage where the drug lords just were gunning down people at the Dadeland Mall at noon. I'm like, what?
You see that a lot in serial killer murder documentaries where there's some that have the legit news reports from that town and they do all this back research, and then there's some that they go through the motions on. You gotta have that. You gotta have that.
Yeah.
Those clippings, man.
It's unbelievable stuff. So yeah, I'm glad he was able to join us.
He was a cool dude too.
Yeah.
He's a really cool dude.
Super smart.
We got to have him on. Yeah, I know my buddy Paul's had him on for a while in Miami.
I didn't realize he lived in Florida. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's a Miami guy.
You got to get in with him and like socially go do some fun stuff. I bet he goes to fun things.
Yeah, do some fucking cocaine. No, just kidding.
I don't know. He said he didn't smoke pot, so he probably doesn't do cocaine.
I'm totally kidding. It was for the joke. That's it.
There's some other good stuff to check out. I had mentioned earlier that season 2 of the morning show is going to be coming out. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Its 11th season starts in October.
I believe this is going to be the last season because one of his buddies said, "Yeah, Larry's getting old."
Yeah. I mean,
We're all
it makes
getting old.
sense.
It's a lot of. I mean, he is older. Think about it. He was old when he did the first season.
You're right.
Yeah. Showtime talking about Dexter 2. They had said we didn't do it justice in the end, and it sounds like they want to pump life back into it, and they may keep it going. You might just not have one final season.
I think your boy's about to jump in on that Dexter train. I mean, like Virginia says all the time, I love murder. You'd think I'd like Dexter.
But I think the tough thing about it, like I said, I was in for 4 or 5 seasons. I can't remember where I dropped off. And then I just hear that there was a lot of betrayal in the last 2 seasons or whatnot that I guess you'd have to go through maybe.
That's what I don't like when they change the characters. That was the biggest knock on Thrones.
Right.
A lot of their ruthless characters in the last season turned soft as fuck. They turned into pussies,
It
man.
was terrible. Yeah.
Jamie Lannister turned into a pussy.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Hated it, Virginia.
Yeah, they killed it. The one thing that is good, that Ghostbusters Afterlife, that's the one that's kind of like got the renewed cast back in it.
It's good?
It is getting massive praise.
Really?
People have already seen it. They say it's fantastic.
A movie or series?
I think it's a movie. Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Is this, because they just did the one with all the women, is this a reboot of that or is this old school characters?
I think in this one you're really talking about Bill Murray and, what they can get out of it. They say it's nostalgia done right. I think it's got kind of like a new, Bill Murray's in it, Dan Aykroyd's in it, Paul Rudd is in it.
Okay.
And then they've got, it looks like some younger, Ernie Hudson is in it, who's one of the original Ghostbusters. And then it looks like they kind of maybe hand it off to younger kids are involved, which always makes me squirm because you're like, but, yeah.
No one cares about the new generation.
Right. But so far, they say it's great and they've done it right.
Well, there you go, Bird.
Yeah, I would watch that. I would give that a shot.
Yeah.
The first Ghostbusters was pretty good. I saw that not too long ago. It still holds up.
Yeah, okay. So if you are looking forward to that, apparently it could be decent. All right, that's all we got for you here today. Thank you guys so much for hanging in. Again, thanks to Billy Corben. Just Google his name, find all his documentaries. They're all over Showtime, Netflix, wherever.
And thanks to Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins, because I'm going to go listen to some Smashing Pumpkins later today.
That's great. Okay.
Everyone's going to do that.
Got some good stuff there. All right, so you guys enjoy yourselves. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye.
Cleveland Clinic, Florida provides individualized treatment plans for excellent outcomes of health problems, ranging from the most common to the most complex, even in cases considered untreatable by others. Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Every life deserves world-class care.